now with our Yahoo group. Somebody has stolen the name of our Yahoo group, which is terribly successful, and they've made a web page and an email address out of it. Okay? And I'm trying to see how a lawyer can stop them from doing that. But when we find out, we will let you know. Okay? Our next speaker is Anabelle Garay of the Associated Press, and she's going to give us some principles. She's a dear friend of mine. I really respect her work. She's going to give us some principles of writing a press release, and then we're going to break into groups, 4 groups, and each group will write 1 paragraph of the press release. She also has some awful examples, which I sent to you by email, and Yamili can show them.
Okay, great.
So,
yeah,
we've got an outline, and I'll pass the floor to Anabelle.
Okay. Well, it's good to be here, you guys. Just to get started, I'll talk very little because I want you guys to get at least a little practice in trying to put together a press release. The most important things I try to include in here. Use your most current information. When you're going to write a press release, I want to know the most current, the most important, the very newest needs to be at the top. Please don't start out, because I have seen some where people start off with background. No, I want to know, are you doing an event? Are you doing a parade? Are you having a news conference to discuss an issue? That needs to be at the very top. You need to answer these questions for me in your press release, whether it's through copy, in what you wrote. You need to tell me who's going to be there, what is this about, when is it going to be, where, why, and sometimes that might be obvious. You know, if we say, troops arriving from Iraq are going to be at the airport. I think we don't need to explain. That's obvious, understood, that these are returning troops, say, from war, or, certain things are very obvious. What's always helpful, too, is if you can pull out the who, the what, the when, the where, those things, if you can put them in the center of your press release, bold them, include that, so that it's quickly, say I'm in the office, I'm looking at all the press releases that we get a lot of them. The one that I can my eyes easily pick out when, where, what this is, that's going to be a little bit easier for me to decide whether I want to pay attention to this and consider covering it, versus one where I have to hunt down where this is going to be, when it's going to be, is this confusing me? So make sure that if in the center of your press release, not only do you mention that, but maybe if you can pull it up in bolder letters, larger font, maybe capitalize those things so that it's very obvious. Make it easier for people. For some things it's good to provide a little bit of background. But when I say a little bit, I mean brief. Maybe a paragraph, 2 at the most, short sentences telling me, okay, background as to whether this event or this issue, kind of put it in perspective for me. Why was this important? How does this fit into that? Say I get something about immigration, which is what I typically cover. A lot of times people will put a little bit of background and say, the DREAM Act is a bill that was introduced such and such time. It's called, Senate Bill, whatever the number is, and it's pending in Congress. Give me just something, a little bit of background, so that I understand how this event or this issue relates to something bigger. But make it brief. You don't have to give me, an essay about it. Just something short, so that I know. And also, let me go back to the current real quick again. One thing that's really helpful in doing this, as far as using the newest information, the most important, pretend that, say you're on your cell phone, you got to call your friend and tell them something's happening, but your battery's dying. So you're going to talk very briefly, be quick. You're going to just get the gist of it out. Pretend that that's what you're doing, that you're trying to talk to somebody before your cell phone just dies out completely. And those words that you use will probably be helpful in getting you to put together something short and brief that answers the very important questions about this. So just a little trick to maybe be helpful about that. Let's see. Most press releases typically are one-pagers. Do you guys have some of those samples? I think some of those you'll see. Especially if they're event-driven ones, you know, a swearing-in ceremony or a press conference. Those are going to be really short. A lot of times the ones that tend to be longer, because the issue's a little more dicey, more complicated. You're going to have maybe a lawsuit, a ruling. Maybe it'll be, you know, some kind of a, I'm trying to think of what are some of my longer ones. You know, an investigation. For example, when the young man that was arrested recently in that bomb plot in downtown Dallas, we got a very long press release, but that was because it included details about the investigation. So of course it wasn't going to fit on one page. You were going to have a page. And what was helpful is attach things that are helpful. If you're going to send me a press release by email or however, fax it, if you have some sort of supporting documents that are helpful just for my own understanding, include that. You know, the U.S. Attorney's Office will include what they filed in court so that I can have even more detail. Include things that can be helpful. It's not going to happen for everything. Obviously, if you're just doing a parade or if you're doing, you know, some kind of a get-together, you probably don't need to do that. And I know that this was emphasized earlier as well. Grammar and spelling, important. Grammar and spelling, it's what sets you apart, makes you look professional, makes people like myself want to pay attention to what you're saying. And it's helpful as far as, and I understand that, you know, a lot of things here are going to be bilingual depending on the community that you're serving, but make sure that it is bilingual. I'm the only one in my office who speaks Spanish. So if you send something in Spanish and I'm off, I'm on vacation, do you think my boss is going to know? Maybe, maybe not. He's from Minnesota. He doesn't speak Spanish. So make sure that you include those types of things. If you want to send a bilingual press release, that's great. That's great because we do have a lot of ethnic newspapers that work in other languages, and that's wonderful. But we still need to make sure that we need to remember that a lot of people in charge are not bilingual, unfortunately. So those things are important as well. And if you can pull up the really good press releases.
I don't think we saved the good ones. We saved the bad.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did I
that's okay.
send you all the good ones?
Did you guys get some of the good ones?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can at least look at those. If we don't have them, that's fine. If you don't have them,
The big one and the
okay, a big one. Okay. Well, first of all, right now, yeah, that's a two-pager, and that's a lawsuit one, that's why. But two of the things you notice immediately up here, media advisory for immediate release.
Annabelle, why do you always put that?
You know what? Because there are times where this will not say for immediate release. It will say embargoed until 12:01 Tuesday, March 10th. What does that mean? When it's embargoed, usually it's a study, whether it's a medical study, that the findings are going to be released on a certain day, or maybe a lawsuit is going to be filed on a certain day. They want to let the reporters know with plenty of time so they can start working on a story. But you don't want that going out before you actually file a lawsuit or before you actually publicize your findings in a journal. So you want to say, you know, this cannot go online, cannot be broadcast or put in print until 12:01 such and such date, or 11:01, what Eastern, Western, Central time is.
I thought when you give information to like a reporter, you can't guarantee anything really, like when the information can be released.
You can't guarantee. You can say that it is embargoed if we have agreed. You can do that, and it's very typical. We do it in our